This is Karen with newclevelandradio.net, and it is time for What in the World with Paul Seaburn and his sidekick, John Donalo. In the world, we got What in the World next to John there, but we only see the top of the world.
It is the world, though. I know folks can't see
It is the
it,
world.
but it is the
Okay,
whole
maybe you
world,
can
Karen.
show us where we are. But
Right,
anyways,
exactly.
it is time, but we're not live. Well, we are all alive, but we're not recording live because Zoom did it to me again. So, welcome.
Oh, but welcome. I guess that's my cue. I'm trying to figure out where you're going with this. We're alive, but and John's got this ball in the background. I don't know if he's going to stand on it or what.
I'm looking for inspiration from it. That's all I
Oh,
can
yeah,
say.
that's
Okay.
good. Yeah,
Inspiration.
yeah. I'll tell you what. Maybe you can point to. He's got a globe. Maybe you can point to what we're talking about as
I'm going
we
to do that.
discuss it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll do that, Paul.
Let's see if
That
you
sounds like
know
a good idea.
where
So
things
we
are
do.
on the globe. Oh my
I
goodness, we
know.
have gone way off the deep end here. Hi, I'm Paul Seaburn, your host of What in the World, everybody's favorite weird news podcast. Real news, sometimes strange, always funny. That's our motto. We are here on Tuesday, the June the 10th at 3:30. We are recording, so that means you're listening to us in the future. We apologize to anybody who normally listens to us live, but we're working on it. Our technical issues are very very annoying and to us too. So we're trying to get everything resolved. If you're listening came from Mysterious Universe, where I'm the editor and the head writer, thank you so much for doing that. For those of you who aren't familiar with it, go there for the latest in UFOs, paranormal stuff, weird science. I write about those kinds of things at Mysterious Universe. If you came to us from Facebook, thank you again for that. You can like me or follow me, all those things on Facebook. Our regulars know I try to test out some of our stories and our jokes there, so you get a head start on what we might be talking about. Um, we are on the newclevelandradio.net platform. That is the platform of Karen Hale, our that first voice you heard, our producer, media mogul at newclevelandradio.net, co-host, all around great person. She's got us all set up at newclevelandradio.net along with some more great podcasts. So go there. There's instructions on how to find us, how to download us. We're on Spotify, we're on Apple, we're on all the platforms, we're on YouTube. So we have a lot of we have some photos that go along with our stories. Go to YouTube and you can see what we look like and see the photos that go along with the stories we're talking about. Also, while you're at newclevelandradio.net, check out Yes I Can Coaching with Karen, which is also our sponsor. Great coaching services and a great aid to us as well. Okay, the other voice you hear in your other ear is my old buddy John Donalo, host of What in the World of Sports, our trivia guy, and all around a good guy. Hey, John and I spent the weekend together, so we don't need to do much chit
Whoa.
chatting.
It's not
But
what you think. It's not
it's
what you
not what
think.
you think. I was just gonna say, we will be talking about it some more. What we were doing. In fact, let's get right to it. So we got a lot of stuff to talk about today. So, what are we going to talk about? Oh, let's see. I've got the oldest cheese in Parma, but there's more than one Parma. So we're going to find out which Parma we're talking about. This is for John. Bigfoot canoeing in Colorado with photos.
Oh,
Always looking forward to the photos, folks. You know how that goes. Can't
Right.
wait.
Onion throwing in Japan. Get ready, John, to find Japan on your globe there.
Okay.
Uh, why you shouldn't stand under Tom Cruise. Uh, electric prunes and gluey pizza. Those are from all over the place. I'm not exactly sure where the original story came from. And then we have a story about a guy who's qualified to take a load off Annie. John, what song is that from?
Well, that's from the band, and I believe it's is the name of the song "The Wait"? Is that the
No,
name of the
wait.
song?
There you
Yeah.
go. Very good. Okay, so
Okay.
you're good. You started the show with the correct answer. That's a good
That is
sign.
always good. That's always good.
Okay, let's see. What else we have? Oh, we got some more odd news. We've got some lots of trivia this week. We've got strange sports and world records. We got plenty of world records this week. So, um, John's got a great another sport for us, and then we'll play Bluff the Co-host, everybody's favorite weird news game. So let's get right to it. Uh, as I mentioned, John and I spent the weekend together. We were at our 50th college reunion. Regular listeners know I talk about the fact that John and I met in college. We're fraternity brothers. We've been friends all those years, and this weekend was our 50th reunion. The college is John Carroll University. I am drinking out of my souvenir cup that was passed out. Everything that was free, I grabbed. So,
So did I. You're not alone with that, Paul. So did I.
although the funniest thing is, we went to the bookstore. There's not a book to be seen in the bookstore. Plenty of
That is
T-shirts
truly
and sweatshirts, yeah,
oh yeah.
hats, you name it. Anything with the school name on it, you could buy there other than a book. I think I saw a bottle of aspirin with John Carroll on it, but no books.
It runs the gamut for sure. Oh yeah, a lot different than
Yeah.
back in the day, Paul, when we were there, right? Where we actually
Oh,
did buy books.
completely
Where we had to
different.
buy
That's
books,
right.
right?
So we talked ran into old friends. I had a problem initially. John, I don't know if you saw me do this. When we came in, I went to a group of people that looked like they were my age. I thought, oh, these people are my age. This must be our class. And I started talking to them. They didn't know who I was. It was the class of 1995, not 75. And they said, "You're with the old farts over there in the other tent." So
No, I
very
didn't notice that,
embarrassing.
Paul. I didn't notice that you were in that group of
Honest
people
to
over there.
God,
That
we're
looked
not
like
this
us.
old. I can't believe it.
Yeah, no
So
kidding.
we went there on both days, and we were really disappointed that we didn't see anybody playing Polish horseshoes because they had a Polish horseshoes court set up at the reunion. That's where we got the idea from. That John talked about it for one of our sports.
Right,
I
right.
think here's what I think. I think they heard the podcast and they knew that we knew how to play and we knew the rules. So we were ringers and nobody wanted to challenge us to it.
Well,
So
that's how that goes. But a lot of the time, even when we were back at school all those years, a lot of people didn't want to compete with us. I mean, there was no ever
that's
going to
right.
win, right?
Oh
So, I
yeah.
mean,
Oh yeah. Well, we'll find out some more about that in a minute. So I was passing out business cards, to make sure we have people listening to the show, and so if you're listening because of that, thank you so much. Especially if it's the bishop. Now this is the funniest thing. We have a classmate who's a bishop in the United States. He is not just any kind of schmuck bishop from Detroit or someplace like that, but he is the bishop for the U.S. Army. He's the
Wow.
Catholic bishop over the U.S. Army. His name is Bishop Neil Buchan. And I had a nice talk with Neil. He had a beautiful service for the mass, and we really nice guy. Um, so that's all I have to talk about for the reunion. But the first story is for one of our other fraternity brothers and classmates, John. Now, the other John, who was with us this weekend, and he listens to the show. He watches on Facebook. So he said he's a big fan of the stories we do about people carrying things, carrying odd things. Although he says he can't believe any of them are real, even though the first two words in our motto is real news. So, uh, so this is for our other buddy John here. Let me get our screen up here. There we go. There's our logo. Okay, so before I go any further, if you're interested, I have a new book out. What would you say to a naked space alien? Available on Amazon, also on my website, paulseaburn.com. So check it out over there. Okay, so this guy, his name is Matt Jones. He's from Wales. He's from Wales, John. Wales.
Where
That's
yes.
your
on
cue.
the globe?
That's your
Wait,
cue.
oh,
Spin the
wait a second. Come on, you guys. Okay, United Kingdom, Wales, right there.
Wales. There we
Okay.
go. Okay,
Hey.
so it's from Wales. Wrexham. I don't know. You probably can't see that deep into your globe. So he's recovering from replacement surgery, and to get back into shape, he starts cycling, but not just on a bicycle. Riding around. He rides a bicycle with a refrigerator on his back. So now he's hiking. This is him hiking over here. So Matt Jones, after hip replacement surgery, to help him recover, he completed a 70-mile hike up and down 15,000 feet in elevation. You can see the hills in the background there. He's using ski poles to go up and down the hill with an 80-pound refrigerator on his back. That's the refrigerator strapped to what looks like a backpack. So, he did this. He did this 70 miles. He says his hip is fine still, but the refrigerator needs a beer replacement. I think that's what kept him going all the time.
Wow.
After finishing, he got congratulatory calls from all around the world. Mostly, though, he got calls from people he hadn't heard from in years, who were wondering if he could come over and help them move. So, so this is a really nice. It was a nice story. When he was in getting his hip replaced, he told his doctor some of the things that he thought he was going to do once he had their hip replacement surgery. And then one was this, walking with the refrigerator. And the doctor says, "You're not going to do that. Don't even think about that." And his wife said, "Don't bet on it. He will." Now, he has 4 kids. Unfortunately, his wife passed away before he could do this. So he did it to raise money for her favorite charities. And he talked to a psychic who was in communication with his wife up in heaven, and he said after it was all over, she told him that she won a bet with St. Peter, who didn't think he could do it either. So it worked out great. Now, as I mentioned, he has 4 kids in school. So now they're no longer allowed to complain when he tells them they have to walk to school. Put the backpack on, go. We'll get out of here.
Follow the father, right?
John, can you imagine doing something like this?
There is no way in the world. I mean, absolutely not.
No.
I mean, first of all, to have that much strength to carry 80 pounds, right? And
Yeah.
it's amazing he did it after having his knee replaced. And then to your point
his
about
hip
right.
replaced. Yeah.
And to your point about the elevation, okay, he's going upward. He's not on a level surface. He's going upward. So that's
Up
really
and
amazing.
down.
Yeah.
Oh, and down. That's where I had knee problems for a long time, and I realized it was from going downhill when on my runs in the morning. So I don't do that anymore. I get winded getting a bag of ice out of the freezer at the store to put in my cooler. Let alone, I'm not going to even pick up the cooler. Thank God they have wheels on them now.
This is simply amazing to me.
Yeah, isn't that? Although, if I could do this would be a cool trick to play on the roaches in the kitchen. You see them run underneath the refrigerator, and then you pick it up. I got you guys now.
Nowhere to hide. Nowhere to hide.
Yeah. If the lovely Donna's not here, but if she were, I would have to apologize. We don't have any roaches in our kitchen, so don't get any ideas. But
I didn't think you did, Paul. We didn't think you did either.
So, speaking of refrigerators, John, you got any old cheese in your refrigerator?
I do, as a matter of fact.
How old? What's the oldest cheese in your refrigerator?
I'm going to probably say I'm going back to December of last year.
Oh, that's nothing.
Well, I mean, it's aged provolone cheese.
Aged provolone, okay.
Yeah, it's sharp provolone cheese. It's outstanding. The more it ages, the better that it is. Yeah,
I agree with you 100% there.
As you can see, I've been feasting on it for years. So,
well, this story is not about provolone, but it's about Parmesan. Actually, Parmesan. The real name is Parmigiana Reggiano. If I'm pronouncing that, I'm probably mispronouncing that, right?
Probably Reggiano. Reggiano.
Okay. Yeah. So this is Romano, a good name for a cheese guy. Romano and Silvia Camerani set a longevity record for the world's oldest edible Parmesan cheese. There's a picture of one of the real wheels right there.
Okay.
No one died after eating a slice of the 79-pound wheel that was made 27 years ago. 27-year-old wheel of Parmesan cheese, and it's still good. They said it still tasted good. So that goes back to 1998. That's when it was
Wow.
the milk. Yeah. The poor waiter, when they were trying it out, the poor waiter is standing there holding this 79-pound block of cheese, trying to scrape it and going, more cheese, and they just, they were celebrating. So poor guy had to keep scraping and scraping.
Oh, wow.
Grating. I'm sorry, grating is the word for it. Um, Sadly, though, they took it back and they put it in a brown paper bag and they put it in the office refrigerator. And by noon, somebody had stolen it. So,
Oh, office refrigerators. That's how they go.
yeah, you know how that is.
Yes, I
So,
do.
but how do I pronounce it again? Parmigiano Reggiano?
Yeah, Reggiano.
Reggiano. Okay. So, do you know what that's named for? Two areas of Italy. Okay, Italy. There's your cue, John. Italy on the map.
Okay, hey, I'm on it. There it is. There's the boot right there.
There we go. Okay. So Parma and the Reggio Emilia area of Italy. I'm not sure where that is, but it's probably near Parma.
Yeah, and Parma is more like central Italy. So,
Right. So if for those of you who were betting that we were talking about the Parma in Ohio, the suburb of Cleveland, where John and I grew up, you lose. Okay. So So for those of you who only know Parmesan cheese based on this container right here of Kraft 100% grated Parmesan cheese, the real stuff is a hard granular cheese produced from cow's milk and must be aged at least 12 months. So it has to be from Parma or the other place, and it has to be aged for 12 months for it to be called the true Parmesan, not like the Kraft, which is you have to use a little p and you have to put quote marks around it.
Oh yeah, no kidding. Oh,
So 79 pounds of cheese. Not only is it old, but it's valuable. They valued this wheel of cheese at $22,000.
Wow.
So
wow.
yeah. That I did the math. That's $280 a pound. Now, as opposed to Kraft, which is probably worth what you paid for it in the store, maybe less. I don't know if you keep it in the refrigerator as long as John does. I'm guessing, John. I'm guessing you don't have any of this stuff in your refrigerator.
No, truth be told, we do have Parmesan cheese from Kraft, but
No kidding.
But it's Parmesan Romano cheese.
Oh, Romano, yeah. Okay.
And growing up, okay, in our household, we only had Romano cheese that we put on spaghetti and and never really put it on pizza or anything like that. But that was only and that was always grated. First, it was my grandmother
right.
First, my grandmother would grate it. Okay, then my mom would grate it, and then
Yep.
my sister would grate it. Right? That's kind of how the hierarchy worked, or whatever it was. But there is a difference. There is a difference.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, huge difference. Yeah, you're right about that. Huge difference. Okay. All right. So now I've got this next story is not a world record, but it should be. Brace yourself. A 200-year-old condom in mint condition.
Oh. Is there such a thing as that?
Well, we'll find out. It was put on display in an exhibition at the Ridge Museum in Amsterdam. That's in the Netherlands, John, to put a spin on your globe there.
I'll put a spin. Netherlands is right here. Okay.
There we go. Okay, we got the Netherlands there.
Yes.
So here's the condom
Oh God.
on display in a museum. It's they found it in the museum. They were cleaning out some old boxes and they found it in the box. So it's thought to be a sheep's appendix. That's what they used to make it. It has a very detailed and explicit drawing on it, which I'm going to explain. I have a close-up of it. Also in mint condition this was in Holland, so it's Dutch. Also in mint condition was the little Dutch boy's wallet that they found it in.
Oh boy.
That reminds me of being at the reunion. Because back in the old days, in ancient times, single guys would carry a condom in our wallet. And that was the dumbest thing to do because it would leave a ring in the leather of your wallet. So when you pulled out your wallet in church to get $1 out to put in the basket, and everybody sitting around you sees this condom ring on your wallet. Not a good thing. Not a problem today. Kids don't carry wallets anymore, so they must, I guess, I don't know, they put a rubber band around their phone to hold their condom to it. I don't know. The best part, though, is the photo. So someone meticulously drew this picture on the condom. So it's fortunately it's blacked out here, so you can't see all the really detailed stuff. But it's a nun and 3 clergymen. So the nun is sitting down, the 3 clergymen are standing up. I'm just looking at that. I thought maybe it was a souvenir from a papal conclave back in those days. For Pope Not So Pius the First. So this was actually a luxury souvenir from a fancy brothel in France, not in the Netherlands. It actually came from France, and only 2 condoms this old have ever been found and survived to the present day. And we know why they didn't survive. But the clergymen are standing in front of the nun, and they're holding up their robes. I should have. I wish I would have thought of it. I should have asked Bishop Neal about this. If what the deal is with this, but there's also an inscription which you can't read here, but I'll read it to you. It's in French. Voilà mon choix, which means there is my choice. So apparently that's what the priests are saying to the nun. And there's also some even smaller text in Latin, nihil sentire possum, which means I can't feel anything. Which is I would expect that on a condom. Also, there's also antiplismum, which is Latin for extra large. So there's all these interesting things on this condom. The nun is pointing. Now, and she's pointing away. It doesn't look like she's pointing at the guys, but she may be pointing to the confessional, telling them, they need to go there once they're done. And that's where we're going to have to go after this story. So let's get right on to a Bigfoot story, which is what John really likes to hear about. This is from Colorado, John. So give that.
We're going across to this hemisphere, and
you know where that is.
The great state of Colorado, right there.
There we go. Okay. All right. So the Colorado raft tour company, Colorado River Expeditions, uploaded a video last week of their first river tour of the season, where the guides and the passengers claim to have videotaped real footage of a Bigfoot on the upper Colorado River. They said it's not computer generated, it's not a fake, just wilderness and raw footage of something they heard rustling on the hillside. I'm going to put some pictures up here, and I'll ask John for some comments in a minute. So there's the first one. You can see the logo for the Colorado, and right in the middle over there is something that looks like a Bigfoot staring back at them. They located it with the camera. They followed it around. They followed it back behind some trees. You can see it's moving around here, I think. Oh, it looks like the same one. They magnified a little bit. There he is moving around with the ubiquitous mandatory red circle around it. And it looks like it's looking back at them. So it definitely, these are stills from the video. The video definitely shows it walking, moving its arms, going back and forth behind the trees. It's waving, not so much waving at the camera, but kind of just waving its arms. But then it looks at the camera. You can see it looking right at the camera here, so as if it knows it's being recorded. This is kind of like John at the Guardians games, John always looks at when that kiss cam is on. John is always looking at it. They can always find it.
Only one up there with a net now. Come on.
I was going to say that's why I don't go to the games with you anymore, because they, the net's not there. Grab the nearest thing. So the video gets the usual comments from people on YouTube. that the Bigfoot believers really believe it because it looks so realistic. The skeptics say it's a marketing ploy by the Colorado Canoe Company to get more people. I don't know how many did I do there? Was that 3 or 4? Let's see. Okay, 1, 2, 3. I think I have one more here. There we go. So
Oh,
there's 3
okay.
different angles there where you can see him walking through the woods. Uh, so, so John, you've seen a lot of different photos here from the video. What's your first impression?
First blush is it isn't beyond the realm of possibility that it could be real, but I still am skeptical because it's not really clearly defined. As a matter of fact, in that one photo, okay, it looks to be he's almost the same color as the trees. Right.
Yeah.
So that lends my skeptics, that just just feeds right into my skepticism in that area. Um, and it does resemble like maybe more of a bear-leg type creature, right? On 2 legs, it looks like,
Yeah.
but again, I'm not sold. I can't be sold on that because again, it's not clear enough.
Yeah, yeah. Well, if you could see it walking, you can Google it. I'll send you the video. When it's walking, it doesn't look like a bear. But a lot of people said it looks like a person in a Bigfoot costume. In
Yes.
fact, here's a person in a Bigfoot costume right here. So you can see, you can see the resemblance. But the thing is, I wish, I wish costume makers would do a better job of their Bigfoot costumes because. It would make looking at these things a lot more fun. This one you can obviously tell it's a someone in a costume. This one, I agree with you as always. It's hard to uh, you know say definitively this is a Bigfoot. I will say that moving, it did look very interesting. A lot of people
Huh.
were comparing it to the original Patterson video of the famous video of Bigfoot. So I don't know. So I did this story on Mysterious Universe, and I wanted a photo to go along with it. So here's Bigfoot in a canoe. Uh, so much more realistic, isn't it?
Boy, the first blush looks like AI for sure. Looks like, I mean, really, I mean, come on. In
Oh
fact,
man.
well, you have to think. It looks like this Bigfoot is so big. How can he even sit in that canoe, right? I
Well,
mean, it
he's
looks.
Bigfoot.
Oh, well, still, it looks out of proportion to me. That's
I,
my
I,
opinion.
I don't know. I think it looks very realistic.
Yeah,
It's,
yeah.
it's, it's in
Well,
you
okay.
look, you got the mountains in the background and Bigfoot looking right into the camera. It's perfect. So, all
Okay.
right, that's our Bigfoot story for this week. But John, while I have your attention,
Okay.
uh, so we here at What in the World love sports competitions. It's especially competitions that involve tossing food. And John has found a new one for us. So, our regular listeners know that these sports generally originate at some pub in England. But this one, while it uses food from Wales, the championship that he'll be talking about was held on the other side of the world. So, give us this new sport, John.
Yeah, we'll do, Paul. Thanks. So last week in Yako, Japan, we're going to Japan. Here it is. Here's Japan.
Okay.
Okay. That city hosted the 8th Yako Welsh Onion Tossing World Championship. Let me repeat that. The Yako Welsh Onion Tossing World Championship, in which men, women, and children see who can throw individual green onions the farthest distance.
Green onions. There's some pictures of some green onions there, but green onion. I wish we had some audio. We could play some Booker T and the MGs
Yes, of
playing
course. Oh,
green
yeah.
onions. Yeah, there you go. There's Booker
Great
T right
song,
there.
and actually, if you remember, some of us oldsters remember that was in the movie American Graffiti.
Oh,
Featured
that's
that
right.
song
That's
was
right.
featured in that
Okay.
in that in that film.
But
But
really, what we care about is the sport, John. So get back to throwing onions.
okay, that would be perfect. But some organic for tossing organic scallions like javelins.
Javelins. Wow.
Now they may be small and flimsy, but defending champion and world record holder Koji Izusaki won his 5th title with a throw of 54.3 feet. That distance wasn't too appealing to Koji because his world record is 58.5 feet.
Wow. Oh, so he didn't break his world record. Was he crying about that, or was he crying from the onions?
No, Paul, there's no crying and onion throwing. Come on, you know that. There's no crying in that. Now, in the women's division, Sumika Kondo won with a throw of 43.8 feet, and in an amazing throw, Yuto Tamura, who also happens to be Koji's nephew, tossed an onion 43 feet.
Wow, this guy must be the star of cafeteria food fights if he can throw it
Well,
that far.
Well, yeah, but let's hope he's too professional for that. Back to Yako, he is the Welsh onion, excuse me, Yako is the Welsh onion capital of Japan and holds this contest to promote the vegetable as a food item for eating and not throwing.
Wow, that sounds like a sport that could catch on in Cleveland, John.
I agree, Paul, but although I think a better vegetable for throwing like a javelin would be a Polish dill pickle spear.
A spear, yeah, the spear. In fact, if we could set up a sport like that, I would gladly volunteer to be the catcher. As a matter of fact, here's a picture of some people catching dill spears right there. I was shocked when I went looking to see if they because I thought this is just a joke. Nobody would do it. Here's people actually catching dill spears in their mouths. So
That's wild. That is very
yeah,
wild. No
I don't know if
kidding.
it's from Cleveland, but great sport. Yeah, great sport. Okay, stick around. John's got another weird sport for us at the end of the show. Okay, so this story here was popular on Facebook last week. The State Historical Society of North Dakota, right there, right down the road there from Colorado on your globe, is installing
North
flush
Dakota.
toilets. You
North
got it?
Dakota.
Okay, right by
Got it right
South
there.
Dakota.
Right there.
Yeah.
North Dakota.
So, the State Historical Society there is installing flush toilets at a dozen of its most popular historical sites, including the childhood home of this guy, band leader Lawrence Welk, and TV
Wow.
host, the famous TV host of the Lawrence Welk Show. So, there's now going to be a working toilet at his childhood home, so visitors can go a one and a two.
Oh,
Oh my.
They were going to install a bidet. They tried to install a bidet, but the little kids coming in kept putting bubbles in there and soap and shooting bubbles out of it. So I
Oh
couldn't
boy.
believe it. Lawrence Welk, from North Dakota, he didn't grow up with indoor plumbing, which amazed me. But as he grew up, he still looked flushed after doing the
Oh,
poop.
get the horn out for that one,
oh,
Paul. We gotta
I
hit
don't
you
know
with
if the
that
horn's
one.
working today.
Okay, there we
Did you
go.
hear? Oh, okay, good. All
Good.
right. So neighbors that they interviewed, they said they would hear strange sounds coming out of the outhouse when Lawrence was in there, and they didn't know if he was going to the bathroom or if he was practicing his accordion. Um, so he eventually got to be pretty good. So I think okay. My favorite world record of the week, another world record. John and I were talking about this over the weekend. The world record holder in this case is Tom Cruise, the actor Tom Cruise, now holds the Guinness World Record for the most burning parachute jumps by an individual after he made 16 jumps for his latest movie, Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. So, to qualify for the record, the jumps must be made while strapped to a parachute, pre-soaked in fuel and lit ablaze before cutting away the charred remains of the first chute and safely deploying a backup, which Tom did 16 times. Out of habit, when he's on the ground, he also straps his birthday cake on his back in order to put the flames out as well. Uh,
That's an astounding statistic to me.
Isn't that? I looked it up because I thought, well, maybe he did it for multiple movies, but no, he did it 16 times. Some of the shots he carried a camera himself. Some of the shots they had a drone shooting him. They had telephoto, so they have record. It is official. 16 times he did that. Uh,
Wow, that's amazing.
He's hoping to increase the record with his next movie, which is going to be called Interview with the Vampiromaniac. So,
Good one, Paul. Good one.
he said it was perfectly safe, but a wardrobe person said that after the last jump, his underwear was no longer the color of money.
Oh,
So,
well, go figure
now,
that one.
yeah, so they were talking to some of his his fellow actors, and they talked to Sylvester Stallone. They asked Stallone if he would do this, and he says, "Hey, I'm Rambo, not Dumbo." So
A candid comment there from Mr.
there you go.
Stallone.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. From Sly himself. Another cheese story for you, John.
Okay.
This one comes from Google, which is not on the globe. Google's all over the globe. Google is the globe nowadays. So Google's latest artificial intelligence tool, AI Overviews, has been generating some really strange answers to questions, including someone asked about pizza. And the answer to the question it gave was to add glue to pizza sauce to help the cheese stick better to the crust. Now, this was all over the internet, and in response, Papa John's is suing Google for intellectual property theft. Apparently, Papa John's actually does that.
Wow.
So despite being proved false, and it was, you shouldn't do that, kids, if you're listening. The rumors still persist among people who ate paste in school. So they missed that taste of paste. Uh, could have come, the AI could have picked this up from the observation that no matter how hard you shake a slice of pizza with everything on it, the anchovies will never fall off. Uh, would you agree with that, John?
I agree. Yes, you can't shake the anchovy.
You
You
can't
can't.
shake anchovies off a
You
pizza. That's
you
a
cannot.
no, no. Now, I was thinking about this. We were just at our old school over the weekend. I think we saw Glue on a Pizza open for the Electric Prunes. Do you remember that concert?
Well, you know what? I'm going to have to say, well, I don't remember it, but I'm going to say it's got to be true because you have like a steel trap memory when it comes to groups that we used to see back in the day. Back in the day, Paul. Wow.
Do you remember the Electric Prunes? I know you
Yes,
remember
I
the.
do remember. I remember their hit song was I Had Too Much to Dream Last Night
Very good.
because the censors made them change the original title of the song and the singing in the song that was I Had Too Much to Drink Last Night.
That's right.
Now,
That's right.
censorship, as you can see, from 60 years ago, it's a lot different than it is now.
Yeah, yeah. I was, they were a psychedelic band formed in 1967, and you can tell they're psychedelic by their album cover here, which is pretty freaky right there.
Oh yeah,
For
pure
those days.
psychedelia for
Yeah,
sure.
for
Oh
those
yeah.
days. Um, I forgot about that song. Thank you for remembering. I thought they were like a no-hit wonder. They had absolutely nothing that they
Mhm.
were remembered for other than their cool name. But yeah, I had too much to dream last night. Made it to number 11 on the Billboard chart. So it was a very popular song.
Oh, it was.
Uh, they had one other one that I didn't recognize, but get a load of this. 1967, they were formed. They still perform. And up until May, they had one original member, the lead singer James Lowe, who unfortunately passed away in May. But the rest of the band, they have some members that joined over the years. So they're approaching their 60th year of recording. This is this is what I love about oldies. So here's a band with one hit, and 60 years later, they're still doing concerts.
Yeah, right. Well, sure. Oh yeah,
Unbelievable.
it is unbelievable.
Yeah. All right. So we got one more story here. This was a popular story on Facebook. It was on the mainstream media this week. In fact, it's been on for well over a week. So in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. You got Tennessee on that globe there, John, or
I
did
do. And for all of you Civil War buffs that are out there, there was a famous Civil War battle that was held in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. And
that
Tennessee is right here. Yes.
what was the battle?
Uh, It was, if I'm gonna have it correct, it was a Confederate victory. This is in 1862 when General Grant was out west before he ended up heading up the troops in the eastern campaigns of the Civil War.
Wow, wow, I know I'm mispronouncing it, but how did you pronounce it?
Murfreesboro,
Murfreesboro. Okay, there's
right?
an R in there that I guess is silent. Well, here's what happened there a little over a week ago. Someone's pet zebra escaped, and you would think you could find a zebra in Tennessee without too without
Go
too much
figure.
trouble.
Go figure.
It took them over a week before they finally captured this poor zebra. And what they had to do is they airlifted it. This is the zebra dangling from uh, in a sling, dangling from a helicopter, where they airlifted it back to the owner of the zebra. The helicopter pilot, by the way, as he's flying over pastures, and he said he looked down and there were horses wearing striped pajamas looking up at him. Yeah, holding signs that said "Me next." So
They could only be so lucky.
yeah, that looks like a lot of fun there. So what they had to do while the zebra was escaped and all these people are looking for it, they had to cancel all the football games because the referees were afraid to go out on the field.
Oh yeah, I understand
Some
that. I can understand
crazy
that
guy
completely.
with an old rifle coming after him. You're a
Sure,
zebra.
sure.
Um, who keeps a zebra for a pet? If that would
Well,
had been bothering me ever since I saw this story.
well, you
In
got to think.
Tennessee of all places,
Well, you got to think though that obviously if it's a zebra, okay, the person has to have a good tract of land, right? I mean, you
you
just
would
can't
hope.
have, you can't be in a subdivision or you can't be in a, small neighborhood, right? You have to have a good amount of land to be able to have the zebra roam and be able to be comfortable in his habitat.
I didn't know you were that well versed in zebra lore there, John. I'm
Well, I mean, just kind of common sense, I think.
so you're right. You're right. So you would have to have a lot of land, and you have to be a little funky, I think, to have a zebra for a pet. They're not like horses. They're wild animals. They've never been domesticated. So uh,
Let's put it this way. I don't think the person or people that have that are in the mainstream. Let's just say let's leave it at that.
exactly. So when the zebra escaped, it reminded me of the old days and in old movies where people who were in prison had to wear striped uniforms. Remember all
The George
the
Raft movies and Andy
yeah.
Cagney movies, sure,
Yeah,
sure.
they'd be in prison breaking rocks, and they'd be wearing those striped outfits. And my favorite prisoners in striped outfits were, of course, the Three Stooges. So here's a
Oh, in
movie.
color. The Three Stooges in
Yeah,
color also,
is
right?
it in color? Yeah. So this is a movie where the Three Stooges were in prison, and all three of them were wearing striped outfits. Now this is a very obscure one, John. Do you recall the name of the short that they were in?
Oh boy. I remember the short,
Yeah.
but honestly can't tell you the name of it.
I'll
No.
give you a hint. They were in jail because they were illegally brewing beer and accidentally sold it to an undercover
Agent.
agent.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So they were
Oh,
brewing beer. That's the
that's the
word.
hint. I'm sorry, I can't pick up on
It's
it,
a
but I
big
wish I
hit.
could tell you.
The name of the short. Get ready for this. The beer barrel polecats.
Oh my God.
Oh my
Can you
gosh.
believe that? Yeah. And
No.
there it
Wow.
is. There's the promo for it. The beer barrel polecats. I
How
don't,
about
it's
how
just,
about curly with H2O? You got to love that. I mean, that's
oh yeah, that's his number. Yeah, 6 7/8. Yeah.
oh, our friends the Stooges. Oh
So
my.
they're in jail. This was a 40s. Well, it was in color. It was probably in the 50s, unless it was colorized.
Mhm.
Uh, they got arrested for brewing their own beer. Today, they would be entrepreneurs, not.
Yes.
That's right. That's right. Oh my gosh. Wow.
And on that note, I think I've reached the end of the weird news stories from my end. which means it's time for What in the World of Sports with John Donalo. Um, Regular listeners know every week I call my old buddy John from college. I said, John knows more than about sports than anybody else I know. I said, John, find us a weird sport that fits with our theme. Real sport, sometimes strange, always funny. And John always manages to do all three of those. And I know he did today. This is his second sport of the day. What is it, John?
Well, Paul, I'll tell you, Paul, Karen, and audience, and as you said, we pride ourselves on being the first to introduce you to weird sports. For those loyal listeners, people will recall back in 2021, we told you about underwater rugby.
Oh, yeah.
Now, some folks in London, we're going to go right to London here in the UK, right there. Okay.
There we go. All
All
right.
right. Now, they must have been listening and they liked the sport so much, they opened an actual first underwater rugby club in England.
Wow.
Now, for those of you new to this sport, underwater rugby is played on the bottom of a swimming pool with a ball that does not float. It originated as a physical fitness training program in German German diving clubs during the early 1960s. Now, underwater rugby was recognized by the Confédération Mondiale des Activités Subsquatiques in 1978, and believe it or not, was played as a world championship in 1980 in Mulheim, Germany. Everyone knows where Germany is, and everyone else, knows that. So that's no reason
Wow.
for
Yeah.
me to try to
There's
try to
a,
point that out.
I think
But
that's, yeah,
now,
go ahead.
now it may have been played underwater, but believe it or not, the game is fast and exhausting as the players pass the ball back and forth and try to shove it into a goal, all while making sure it never breaks the surface. If it breaks the surface, then it's not a legal play.
Out of
Now,
bounds. Yeah.
right. Now, in 1972, the Union of German Sport Divers, or the UDST, recognized the sport, and the first German championships were held there in Moldheim. And then in 1998, the first European championships took place in Malmo, Sweden.
Wow.
Sweden is up here right next to Norway.
There
Okay,
we go.
now, despite all of that, the sport has not caught on in England until just recently when Nick Harvey founded the Pure Underwater Rugby Guildford, which Paul has the logo for there. The club has 20 members, but is open to anyone who wants to play. All you need is a team of 6 players, male, female, or mixed, equipped with fins, masks, and snorkels. You score points by getting the ball into the opponent's goal, which is a basket 12 feet down at the deep end of the pool.
Wow.
And it's called rugby, so underwater tackling and attacking is allowed to stop your opponent from scoring. Kicks, hits, even strangling or playing above the surface are not allowed. Now, believe it or not, the game consists of 2 exhausting 15-minute halves.
Oh,
So these people are playing for 15 minutes per half. And fortunately for them, there's a 5-minute break.
oh,
Oh, 5 minutes.
Now, beginners are welcomed at what they call the Pure Underwater Rugby Guildford as long as they are over 18 years of age. If you're not 18, you can't participate. Now, believe it or not, underwater rugby is played at a few pools in the U.S., but as we all know, water polo is much more prevalent and much more popular. Now, there is a common phrase. They say that it takes leather balls to play rugby, but at the end of an underwater rugby game, they're probably pretty wrinkled too.
Oh,
Just saying, just saying. But
wow.
what a unique sport though. What a very challenging sport. I
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think again, I think at the outset, when I first did the research on this, I had to like read it twice. I said, are you sure this is exactly what people do? And then they compete at it, but they do.
Yeah. Worthy of being mentioned twice on What in the World. That's pretty good.
Yes, yes. Our original
Under,
story was in 2021.
underwater rugby. Water polo obviously has a head start in the United States, but you're right. I would think that this could catch on really big in the United States. Um, Both as a competitive sport and just as a fitness for training as well. 15 minutes underwater would kill me. You know.
I just can't do it. Let's put it this way. I just
No,
can't do it.
no. I'd have to have a refrigerator on my back just to stay down that long to break a
Makes
little
you come full
callback
circle
there.
there,
Yeah.
Paul. Yeah, there you go. There you go. Uh,
So, I was thinking about this. I thought, I'd never heard of this before up until we covered the sport back in 2021. But if I remember, I dug back, especially since we were back at our old school over the weekend. See, I was reminded that we did something like this back in college. Do you remember that, John?
no, again, Paul, I'm gonna have to rely on your good memory because I don't.
Well, it turns out I looked up in my records and it turns out that we were challenged to an underwater rugby match by another group on campus. Now,
Really?
normally we would get challenged by fraternities. Believe it or not, we were challenged by a sorority. A
Oh no,
sorority.
really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Group of girls challenged us to underwater rugby. So, as regular listeners know, John and I were the young guys, and so the older guys, they didn't want to have anything to do with playing against the sorority. So they picked John and I. But I've mentioned this before. I actually did play rugby at John Carroll, so I knew a little bit
That's
about
right.
rugby. And they looked at John and they thought, he probably will sink to the bottom, so he'd be good for play at the bottom of
That's
the
why.
pool.
That's why I blocked it out of my memory, Paul and Karen. That's why.
So John and I got together and we couldn't figure out how to play underwater rugby. So John got the brilliant idea. Let's sneak into the sorority's training facility and see how they train, and then we can do the same thing, only better, and we'll win. So we snuck into their training facility, and the first thing we found was this girl here who had a heavy bag underwater,
Oh my
and
gosh.
she's actually kicking the heavy bag. It looks like she may have even been punching it while on the bottom of a pool. So this did not look good, but we figured we'd keep on looking. So then we found two more players, and this is how they're getting in shape. They're actually
Oh,
boxing
Oh my.
underwater. Yeah, so I mean that is a legitimate rugby move, by the way, without the gloves, of course. So John and I panicked, and we said, there's no way we're going to be able to compete with these women in underwater rugby. So we came up with the brilliant idea to counter challenge them to a sport that we knew we were good at. So we challenged them to underwater beer drinking, and
Well, we were good at that. We
we were
definitely
good
were
at
good at
that,
it.
John. Unfortunately, we should have known because they quickly agreed. And I have a picture of the winning team right here. There they are. There's their
ah,
captain drinking beer underwater.
Oh my.
Underwater
Oh.
beer drinking. You'd think, yeah, we would have been good at that. Okay, well, I
Oh.
think that's the end of What in the World of Sports there. And thank you again, John, for a great sport, great update to a great sport.
No, you're very welcome, Paul and Karen, and audience.
Now,
Thank you.
that means it's time for Bluff the Co-host, everybody's favorite weird news game. Rules to Bluff the Co-host are simple if you haven't been listening before. Uh, I have three stories similar to all the ones we've been telling all afternoon. One big difference, all of those were real. These may be real, they may be a bluff, and it's up to Karen, John, and those of you playing at home to decide real or bluff. As always, wagering is allowed in Ohio, so place your bets. John and Karen, put your hands on the buzzer. Let's get right to story number one. You can get a grass mowing robot from Roomba, and you can get a robotic dog from Boston Dynamics. But a robot company in Japan has done both one better by combining the two into a robot sheep that walks around your yard chewing your grass short with a unique trimming mouth. The robotic sheep has simulated wool that is waterproof in case it gets caught in the rain, and a rechargeable battery that will last through an average American yard. But the best part is the price. The robot sheep is 1/4 the cost of the Roomba mower, so you can get 4 and have a fast flock graze your lawn neatly in no time. If you have a yen for one, the robot sheep lawnmower is only available on Amazon in Japan, but the site will do the monetary conversion and add a charge for shipping it to you overseas. Okay, so the robot sheep that mows your lawn for you from Japan, real or bluff? Karen, we'll start with you.
It sounds a little bit too far fetched, so I'm going to say it's a lie.
Too far-fetched.
Far-fetched.
Far-fetched, okay. Far-fetched. Karen says it's a bluff. John, how about you?
Yeah, I have to agree with Karen because I mean, what's the purpose? I mean, I understand they're gonna cut your grass. Well, again, and I've been stumped many times on this show, and I'm trying to redeem myself. So I'm going to agree with Karen because I just don't see it. It can be practical. I just don't see how practical it can be.
Oh, okay. Not even for 4. I certainly could use 4 in my yard.
Oh, I could. No, it would save me a lot of effort, obviously.
Yeah.
But I just don't think it's.
But
It's
you don't
feasible.
believe that it's true. Okay, let's.
Yeah.
So we have two for bluff. Let's check with the judges, and the judges say congratulations to both of you. That is a bluff.
All right, Karen, way to go. We're off and
Yeah,
running.
As
Yeah.
good of an idea as it might be, it was a bluff. Okay, so scores 1-1. Let's get right to story number 2. The drive-in movie theater is fast becoming extinct, but a cinema multiplex in San Francisco is offering the next best thing. It has removed its regular seating and installed refurbished car seats from a nearby junkyard. You can get bucket seats or bench seats, and the rows alternate between front and back seats for the full in-car feeling. Each seat has an individual replica drive-in speaker mounted on the arm. The screen is resized to simulate watching a movie through the front windshield, and the concession stand is in the front just like at the drive-in. They even have a fake full moon on the ceiling. It's the only simulated indoor drive-in in the country, but the owner is looking for investors to expand to Los Angeles, Dallas, and Las Vegas. Okay, so a drive-in theater indoors with real car seats, real or bluff. John, we'll start with you on this one.
Well, I'm going to give a resounding yes on this one because I think it would be cool. I think it'd be very cool. I mean, it's the drive-in experience, like you say, but in a different setting, and I think it would be fantastic. I think it's a fantastic idea. I'm going to say it's true.
Okay, John says it's true. Karen, how about you?
I agree with John because I think we need gimmicks bringing people back to the theaters. And it would be sort of fun to be able to sit in a pseudo car. So, yes.
So you say it's a real story as well. Okay, John and Karen both say that the drive-in inside the cars inside the drive-in is a real story. Let's check with the judges, and the judges say, sorry, that's a bluff.
Well, I think we should do it anyway.
Karen, I'm with you on that. We'll talk to you after the show. I think
pool our resources. That's right. Yeah,
No,
pool our
I
resources. We'll
really
find an
think
old
this
theater in Cleveland. I do. I think it's as I was writing it, I thought, oh, this actually makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. We take a loss, but at least a strike for creativity for us.
Yes.
Strike
There we
for
go. Oh,
creativity.
thank you. So scores tied 1-1. Points are doubled in round number 3, but it doesn't matter. We will have a winner or we'll have a tie in this case. So let's get right to story number 3. White Castle is the oldest fast food chain in the world, but its 6-packs of sliders are not as popular as they used to be. So the manager of one store in Nashville, Tennessee, has hit upon a money-making side gig. White Castle bouncy castles. The specially designed bouncy castle looks just like a real White Castle restaurant, with a counter in the front, tables on the side, and a menu on the wall. For authenticity, it comes with a spray can of fake slider smell. And of course, rental of the White Castle Bouncy Castle comes with plenty of hot sliders and fries and a cooler of drinks. While the store markets it for kids' birthday parties, they were surprised at how many adults get them. Yes, for an extra fee, you can keep the White Castle Bouncy Castle overnight and eat your sliders in it with your hangover at 4 a.m. It's only available in Nashville, but White Castle management is considering expanding it to other slider-loving cities. Okay, the White Castle Bouncy Castle, real or bluff? Karen, we'll start with you.
I hope it's a bluff because it just sounds weird, really weird. So I'm going to say it's a bluff. You did good writing this week.
Karen, do you like White Castle, by the way?
No.
So there may be a slight bit of prejudice in here.
Well, I like Green's hamburgers up in Michigan.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, okay, so Karen says that the White Castle Bouncy Castle is a bluff. John, how about you?
Part of me says, Karen and Paul and audience, that it can't be real, but this is what in the world. So I'm gonna say that it is real, and I think this is kind of a neat idea. So I'm gonna say it's real.
So John says it's real. John, do you like sliders? I don't really know the answer to this.
I'll tell you what. When there was a White Castle, store, restaurant, near our house where we grew up, right? But I can honestly say I probably haven't had a White Castle hamburger in like 20, 25 years.
Yeah,
not that I avoid them, but it's just, not kind of in my wheelhouse or whatever. But
I remember that White Castle, by the way. That's right.
Yeah, right on Pearl and Brook Park Road.
Yep, right.
Sure.
Okay, so John says it's a real story. Karen says the White Castle Bouncy Castle is a bluff. Let's check with the judges, and the judges say, congratulations, Karen, it's a bluff.
Well, Karen, I lost to a worthy opponent. Very good. Very good.
The White Castle Bouncy House itself, I think, could sell, but the smell of the
Again, we should approach White Castle management and see if they'd be interested in it.
That's right.
I agree.
Right. We could be wealthy by the end of the year.
Not only with that and with the drive-in, theater with the car seats, right? We can retire and we won't have to do What in the World anymore.
We want
to. Well, I mean, it could be just like a side gig for us. Okay. It'd be a side gig, right?
Okay, if there's any venture capitalists out there listening to the show,
or private equity people,
people, that's right. We're open for investments for both of those ideas. You heard it here first.
That's
okay.
Right.
Again, congratulations to Karen. Boy, we lasted just long enough for my voice to start going. Thank you again to everybody for listening. Thank you to Karen Hale, winner of Bluff the Co-host, media mogul at newclevelandradio.net. Our co-host, proprietor of Yes I Can Coaching with Karen, producer of all kind of great podcasts. Thank you for everything you do for us and all the podcasts at newclevelandradio.net. John, as always, thank you to my buddy John Dinalo. I'm going to miss not seeing you. It's been like 5 or 6 days in a row here.
Yeah, really.
So tomorrow's a day off. Yeah.
Hey, the good news also is next week we'll be back with the world again. So
back with the globe. Yeah.
We're all about where we're at.
Let's see. Yeah, we'll have to ask our listeners to send us some feedback. Globe, yes or no?
Please give us feedback. Oh my gosh. Thanks, Paul.
All right. And as always, I mentioned our listeners. Those are the people that we appreciate the most. Thank you so much for joining us every week on Bluff the Co-host. What in the World? You're the reason why we do this podcast every week. without you, we wouldn't do it. We hope that you have as much fun listening to the show as we do putting it together. And that's an honest statement from all three of us. So I think on that note, we will be back at regular time, regular day next week, hopefully live. We'll continue to work on our issues here. But other than that, it's a beautiful day in Northeast Ohio, so I think I'm going to go outside and fill my sinuses with even more allergens.
Sounds like a plan.
There you go. All the rest of you have a great week, and we'll see you next week.
Bye, everybody.
Take care, everyone. See you next week.